My garden's perched high above Hobart, which actually means we miss a lot of the big frosts that hit the nearby valleys. But we'll still get a handful of them each winter, which we really need to watch out for. Like me, a lot of gardeners may find frost hard to deal with. But what actually is frost? How do you know when it's coming, and what is it doing to our plants? Frosts occur when temperatures fall below 0 degrees at night and moisture in the air or on the ground turns into ice. The best conditions for frosts are a still night with clear skies and low humidity. The water inside plant tissues and cells can actually freeze, which can cause frost damage. The worst damage is usually the next day when plants thaw out too quickly from being heated by the early morning sun. If you hear a frost warning, they can be categorised as light, moderate or heavy. This refers to just how cold it will get and how severe the damage could be. So what can you do about frost? Well, for starters, you can plant frost-hardy plants. These are crops that can pop in at various times in winter. In cooler parts of Australia, these are things like broad beans, garlic, spring onion and different types of brassicas. Perennials like artichokes, along with deciduous fruit trees, are also quite tolerant. Generally, younger plants like seedlings and new growth are less tolerant. Timing can help. In most of Tasmania and the alpine regions of New South Wales and Victoria, frosts can happen well into spring, so there are different planting schedules and methods to avoid losses compared to more temperate regions. So in Tasmania, if you planted your tomato seedlings out in the garden in September, they could be completely wiped out after just one cold night. So we wait another month until around late October or early November before putting them in the ground. If you live in frosty areas, here are some practical ways to protect your plants. Plan where you plant. That is, make use of microclimates like under a tree canopy or higher, warmer points in the garden for less hardy species, because frost is worse at low points. Water well. It may seem contradictory to add more water, but a healthier plant that isn't drought stressed when a frost hits is more likely to survive. Also, the more water in the soil means the more warmth in the soil, and it will take longer to freeze. Don't mulch until frosts are over. That way the dark-coloured soil can soak up the sun and retain more heat at night, so it's less likely to get as cold. Even frost-hardy plants can benefit from a bit of protection. You can cover them with things like cardboard boxes, old bed sheets or bits of material. All you do is come out the night before, pop them over and they'll be safe and sound. Now, when you're using a bed sheet or a bit of material, I like to use some plastic pots and I scatter them around the young plants. This keeps them nice and protected from the weight of that bed sheet, making sure they don't get crushed overnight. For areas that experience more consistent and extreme frosts, you might want to consider investing in something more semi-permanent to nurse your crops through winter. Something like this is really simple. It's just some 25mm blue line polypipe, which I've cut with a pointy end. You can then just jam it into either side of your garden beds and it stays perfectly. Then you can cover it with some shade cloth or some clear plastic. With my young avocado tree, this wildlife safe netting isn't just to keep the birds away. I actually pop it back on for winter time to protect any new growth from heavy frosts. It works a treat. Frost tender plants can still be grown before the last frost in a cold frame or a greenhouse. Once the risk of frost has passed, open the lid of the cold frame or transplant them outside. There are lettuces in my cold frame at the moment, which is also well positioned against a warm, sunny wall to increase their productivity and reduce any chance of frost damage. Frosts aren't all bad because they can actually kill or slow down pests and pathogens, which means you can get a break from having to deal with them. Also, some plants actually really thrive in cold conditions, and you can too, by getting to know your region's climate and using the right protection and growing methods for your garden.